I got a question for you, Tank. At 147, how does a fight with you and Terence Crawford look?
Damn.
147? Shit, I
147.
tapped that chin. You know he going to sleep.
I already know. I already know
he
he
ain't
is.
got no chance.
I already know he is.
He said no chance.
The feud between Tank and Crawford is still raging in the boxing community, and it appears like it will last for years. Tank and Crawford have long argued over who can put the other to sleep, but lately, the topic of discussion has shifted to who has the larger wife and who earns more money. It was only a matter of time until Crawford and the majority of his admirers retaliated against Tank after he made things personal. Now that Tank had proposed a battle between them, Crawford had enough and chose to confront him with the harsh reality. With no more patience, Terence Crawford resorted to X and sent Tank Davis a direct message. Quit being afraid and fight Shakur Stevenson and Crawford Davis. Before you talk about someone on a level you'll never be in. The acrimonious back and forth between two of the biggest names in boxing today is just getting hotter, because to those statements which landed like a left hook.
To fry, grow some balls and fight Shakur, Keyshawn, and stop being scared. That's probably why you ran your girl over and beat her ass, because she know you ain't got no nuts, my people. You know? And then right there, Gervonta pretty much insinuated, if I was to fight Crawford, I'll make him look little. Then they both said, yeah, I want dudes to see me and try something. That would be his last going for greatness. And then Terence said, go for it then. You feel me?
Crawford's criticism is intimate. Both Shakur Stevenson and Crawford Davis are close friends of Crawford and even served as his protege under their shared trainer, Brian "Biak" McIntyre. However, let's face it, Crawford Davis hasn't exactly proven himself on the big stage. His performances against Miguel Medueno and Nahir Albright were mediocre at best, and fans are quick to point out that he declined to face Cuban phenom Andy Cruz, who humiliated him 4 times in amateur competition. Nevertheless, Crawford feels that Tank should be at this level and not be everywhere bringing up his name. Although there is some contentious truth to it, some fans do believe that Tank could win if he faced Bud.
Gervonta Davis speaking about you. Is that ever a possible fight?
Yeah, if he want to dare to be great, he can be like all the other fighters that's moving up 2 weight classes and, daring to be great.
You would fight him.
Man, tell him to come up there.
He got to come to win 54.
He said I got a glass chin, so tell him to come and touch it.
Wow.
Tank, who has established himself as a box office superstar, is obviously not interested in the 2 names that Bud Devon Davis listed. He is aware of his value and has no desire to give Crawford the limelight, particularly because Crawford lacks marketability and a fan base. Shakur Stevenson comes next. Despite his technical prowess, Stevenson's defensive attitude has led some reviewers to deem him dull. It may be difficult for Eddie Hearn, who signed Shakur with the intention of making him a worldwide celebrity, to promote him in the United States. Since Tank would be bearing the full weight of the promotion, he doesn't think a battle with Shakur is worth the risk or the effort. Crawford wasn't finished yet. In a biting tweet that has since been removed, he escalated the situation. He went farther, making fun of Tank's personality, and even bringing up his private issues. You don't get any nuts and your girl is aware of it, which is most likely why you ran her over and beat her ass. Crawford concluded his post with an emoji of laughter. There have undoubtedly been boxing rivalries, but none have been as heated as this one, especially when you take into account the 2 animals involved. Normally, boxers would disparage one another's fighting methods and careers, but when you start insulting the other fighter's family, or even using derogatory language, things start to go out of control. The vicious personal attacks only serve to highlight how intense this feud has grown. Crawford is after Tank's pride in addition to challenge. The slur was not taken lightly by Tank Davis. This follows Tank's accusation that Crawford was more interested in chasing paychecks than excellence. Crawford is more concerned with getting a sizable retirement check than he is with leaving a legacy when he challenges Canelo Alvarez to a fight in Saudi Arabia. Do you all truly believe that he is striving for greatness? Tank stated on X that he is unsure if that is what he needs to do in order to earn a respectable living. The figures appear to support Tank's assertion. According to reports, Crawford's most recent bout with Israel Madre only generated 75K to 100K PPV buys, which is a far cry from the huge crowds Tank consistently draws.
You got guys who are really, really, really good, and they're not really hell-bent on becoming a star. I put you in that category. I put Terence in that category. Maybe Shakur, where they feel like they don't really want to, like, Terence ain't bothered about going to premieres.
Crawford, on the other hand, sees it as a chance to solidify his legacy in boxing by going up 2 weight classes to face the unified super middleweight champion. He uses the phrase legacy, but Tank doesn't believe it for Davis. Desperation is evident in Crawford's desire to go up 2 divisions without first establishing himself at 168 pounds. On this point, fans are split. Some support Tank, who thinks the Canelo fight is more about money than glory, while others applaud Crawford's drive. The rivalry between Crawford and Davis is not new. It began when Crawford was celebrating his victory over Errol Spence Jr. and was declared the undisputed champion. When Davis asserted that he could defeat Crawford at 147 pounds, it made news. Crawford reminded everyone that boxing has many levels in a composed yet certain response while on the Breakfast Club. He's in for another surprise if he thinks he's just going to knock Terence Crawford out when he gets to 147. He claimed that although the answer was measured, it contained a subliminal warning. You can't frighten Crawford into fighting.
How you feel about that fight? Is it even possible at a catch weight?
There ain't no catch weight. You come up to 47.
Not even entertaining a catch weight.
No, I'm not.
He's a champ though too, undefeated.
And what champ? Come on, man, tell me what belt. You know boxing. You forgot Devin Haney is undisputed. Devin Haney got all the belts. He the champ. Nobody else the champ. I'm gonna come up here where the big boys at.
All right,
I'll welcome.
A battle between the two appears improbable despite the verbal battle. Crawford is targeting Canelo Alvarez, a fight that might result in both financial gain and legacy. Tank Davis, meanwhile, has Lamont Roach Jr. as his next opponent, and the fight is set for March 1st at the Barclays Center. The question that remains for supporters of both boxers is if this is all mere rhetoric, or whether Crawford and Davis will ever enter the same ring. The contentious opinions surrounding this rivalry are what add to its allure. Because Tank is much smaller than Crawford and about at 147 pounds or more would be mismatched, some fans and commentators claim that Crawford is punching down by sparring with Tank at 135 pounds. Others think Tank is underestimating Crawford's dominance at heavier weights and that his optimism is misguided.
You not lead with ego. Like if you hear somebody like Tank say 147, I knock Bud out.
Well, he just talking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he got the confidence in himself that he believed that he can do that because he's been knocking all these fighters out that he's been in the ring with. You know, so no knock to Tank, but there's definitely levels. You know.
Then there's the marketability problem. Although Tank is a bigger PPV draw than Crawford, his achievements speak for themselves. Should boxing's legacy take precedence over its popularity? However, World Tank is no new to controversy. His detractors claim he avoids the hardest challengers in his classification, such as Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney, and selectively chooses his opponents. Tank's admirers contend that he doesn't need to prove anything because his record, knockout power, and capacity to sell out arenas speak for themselves. Crawford's remarks regarding Tank's fear strike a chord with those who believe Davis hasn't yet shown himself against the greatest.
I mean, if he want to retire with the career that he got, then go ahead and do whatever you got to do. So I disagree with it. I think it's soft, but that's on him.
In his 41 fights, Terence Crawford has finished 31 of them in the distance. In 30 fights, Gervonta Davis has 28 knockouts. The sport would be in complete pandemonium in the ring if these two wrecking balls ever collided, because legends are created in chaos. Although Crawford's accurate deconstruction of opponents contrasts with Davis's astounding explosions that appear out of thin air, both men have one unquestionable thing in common. When they scent blood, the fight is done. In his own words, Brian Norman Jr., a man who has sparred with Crawford, described how he depicted a younger Norman learning a difficult lesson in maturity from Crawford. Crawford uses a methodical dissection, a slow death by 1,000 pinpoint punches rather than a single fight-ending bomb. He simply beats you up before killing you, but he doesn't necessarily one-shot victims. On the other hand, Norman claimed that when it came to unadulterated, unrefined force, he saved his greatest admiration for Davis, who got one shot anyway. Tank deserves it, but here's the thing. Crawford's genius is in his ability to change positions and take advantage of openings at any moment. It's not that Davis lacks a boxing IQ. In fact, his ring acumen is criminally underappreciated. But it's difficult to get rid of the idea that he thrives better in a chaotic environment, while Crawford is the ultimate manipulator, pulling strings. until his opponent unintentionally contributes to their own downfall. Roy Jones Jr. was not afraid to compliment Davis's explosiveness as he offered his thoughts on the fictitious showdown. When it comes to boxing, Tank had one advantage over Errol Spence. An energetic boxer can go far. According to Jones, his remarks are significant. Davis is a predator who can turn a fight around with a single soul-snatching punch, but Spence, an outstanding technician, was unable to handle Crawford's adjustments and stifling pressure. It's reasonable for critics to point out that Davis is more competitive than Crawford. Sean Porter, Kell Brook, and Errol Spence Jr. are among Crawford's victims.
Davis, bad dude. See, what I like about Tank is Tank brings something different. You know, back in the days, everybody had something. Muhammad Ali was a mover boxer, George was a puncher, Ernest Shaver was a puncher. Everybody had something they brought to the table. Larry Holmes had a jab. Mike Weaver had over.
He has hunted in the most dangerous waters and emerged not only unharmed, but also completely in control. Conversely, Davis has gorged himself on names like Rolando Romero, Ryan Garcia, and Leo Santa Cruz. Although impressive, Crawford hasn't quite faced the murderer's row, but that's exactly what makes this fantasy matchup so intriguing. Davis has frequently made top fighters appear unimpressive, implying that he may easily become as physically strong as Crawford. Crawford would come into the fight as the larger guy by nature, with a longer reach and a body used to lifting up to 154 pounds.
Probably in your top 10, maybe even your top 5.
Where do you rank Terence, in your opinion?
I put him in the top 15, maybe the top 10. Because he definitely has the skill of a top 5. Just that he hasn't had the opposition that some guys were able to get. And that's not his fault. He just made one of the best fighters in his weight class look like nobody. That's pretty damn good.
Despite being smaller and more svelte, Davis has never had any trouble using his strength across weight classes. However, a 145-pound bout against someone like Crawford would push Tank's style to new heights. Crawford's biggest strength would be his adaptability. Let's not pretend Davis is some mindless slugger. His deliberate destruction of Ryan Garcia, which culminated in that perfectly placed liver shot, is evidence of his ring intelligence. However, his ability to switch between orthodox and southpaw with ease could frustrate Davis, forcing him to think instead of react in a situation where Davis is arguably at his weakest. Davis sets traps in addition to throwing punches. Let's not ignore the intangibles, but the question is whether he could set up a trap for someone as experienced and intelligent as Crawford. Davis possesses the X factor, which allows him to quickly end a fight. He's a fighter who just needs a moment versus someone like Crawford. He doesn't need to win rounds. Having that weapon is dangerous. Despite his genius, Crawford has been touched before. Early on in their battle, Jose Benavidez Jr. prevailed, and Canelo even managed to wobble him. Regardless of how dominant Crawford may have been until that moment, a clean connection from Davis may mean the end. This fictitious fight would ultimately come down to two questions. Could Davis locate and take advantage of the opening he would need to deliver his game-ending blow? Secondly, was it possible that Crawford would force Davis to comply with his wishes and pull him into deep waters, where his explosiveness may begin to diminish?
405. 405. There you go.
The very thought of this struggle ignites imaginations because these are difficult questions to address. Perhaps tongue-in-cheek, the Baltimore Big Bat has before threatened to knock out Crawford, but the bigger man has cautioned him from overpowering him.
That's the kind
Debates
of
are fueled by trash talk like that, and in this instance, it's justified.
It's warranted.
Crawford's mastery of the sweet science makes him a nightmare for any opponent, even though Davis may have the advantage in raw power. In actuality, each man would bring an arsenal that might destroy the other when they...
Stop closing up. Gotta let it go. Keep turning, step around. Keep turning.
Although a battle between these two may never occur, the result would depend on who could impose their style first. Davis with his explosive mayhem, or Crawford with his stifling control. The fictitious battle lines are obvious. Two combatants, each with their own definition of what it means to be clinical, are engaged in combat. The confrontation between Crawford's deliberate cruelty and Davis's raw explosiveness would split fans, spark heated arguments, and make the sport richer just by imagining it. In his 41 fights, Terence Crawford has won 31 of them inside the distance. In 30 fights, Devon Davis has 28 knockouts. But the only thing that sparked this controversy was Saudi involvement in boxing. And while some followers of Crawford and other boxing celebrities are criticizing Tank for opposing this new trend, others are praising him for his efforts to preserve boxing as a sport. Tim Bradley recently told Gervonta "Tank" Davis that he respects him because, unlike other boxers traveling to Riyadh, he did not stoop to kiss Turki Al-Sheikh's ring. Never one to hold back, Bradley publicly praised Davis's choice to remain loyal to his heritage. I admire Tank because of this. You have a new fan dog, Tank. Dog, you're a real one. You've been proving to me lately that you're a real one. Tim Bradley said on X, I like that, to Gervonta Davis's pursuit of Turki Al-Sheikh and the several boxers vying for his favor in hopes of earning a hefty salary.
Me, number 5. Of course, it is the heavyweight.
Oh, not again.
Oh, you are in serious
Oh, no.
trouble. You are in serious trouble.
They know I love the heavyweight. You can add any fighters you want as number 5 heavyweight. Not fighter only from Queensberry.
This is not a story. It's nothing new to the sport. Boxers had long sought out the biggest payouts wherever they could, and with Tyson Fury's upcoming bout, and Anthony Joshua's rematch with Andy Ruiz Jr., Saudi Arabia has emerged as the new promised land for fighters hoping to make a profit. Many have found it impossible to resist the attraction of Riyadh's wealth, but Davis is pursuing a different path that has drawn both acclaim and condemnation. Tank expressed his contempt for the fad, in his own words on X, LOL. Do I still sell where I'm from, America, even though they have to go over there to make money? The majority of people constructed on a dollar symbol are completely unloyal. Is there anything popping? Are you all dead? Why weren't all of them invited? However, they asked others they interact with to cease the argument. Davis stated, Take a look at that little rat who seems to have figured things out. They have a large roster, so now instruct them all to attack each other. Although it's a harsh criticism of what many perceive to be a fantastic opportunity, Davis believes that the value of oneself trumps the allure of a blank check. He has demonstrated time and time again that he doesn't need to leave for the Middle East in order to attract enormous audiences and produce pay-per-view figures that break records. That is uncommon in a sport where the allure of financial stability frequently outweighs fan devotion. Bradley's acknowledgement of this establishes the framework for an expanding counter-narrative in which combatants who stand by their principles are praised.
I'd love to work with him, because I like what he's about. He's all about making the big fights happen, and I'm all for that, But I've got a team, I've got a professional team with me, and
Now I respect you because you know Shakur is over there if you go over there and retract everything you said, and kiss the ring for $150 million as well. Because you don't want to walk over there or kiss the ring, you're saying that I don't need Shakur. However, if you break your word, you'll lose a huge fan, dog, and I'll come after you. I'm going to really come at you, dog. Bradley's remarks strike a deep chord with boxing fans who believe the sport is turning into a commercial event that has lost its genuine grassroots appeal. Tank is committed to his base and wants to demonstrate that boxing can still be about pride, heritage, and roots, which is why he doesn't kiss air. Naturally, that is not how everyone sees it. Critics contend that Tank's position is opportunistic, ignoring a big worldwide audience and possibly once-in-a-lifetime earnings. Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez are mentioned. According to reports, Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, two fighters who are widely regarded for their accomplishments and who are supposedly teaming up with Turki Al-Sheikh for bouts this year, have made agreements that indicate a change in the epicenter of the sport. But Davis is unconcerned. He sees the Psy scene as a departure from the ideals of boxing, which is becoming less and less common in the market.
And then you have the big fights. I don't understand. We give you good offer, and we give you good fights. You don't want it. Okay, give it in your way. You see a lot of interest all for him, and he doesn't respond with what we think is good for boxing.
Social media fans are evenly split. While some applaud Tank for his tenacity and describe him as a man of principle, and a holdover from a time when fighters didn't sell out. Others cast doubt on his intentions and charge that he is using morality as a shield to avoid competing against the best in the world. This argument highlights the larger conflicts in boxing, a sport that is continuously battling with its dual identities as a brutal business and a noble art. However, how do you perceive the situation? Do you agree with Tank that Saudi Arabia will have a detrimental effect on boxing? Please leave your comments below. For more updates, remember to like and subscribe to the channel. See you at the following.